So I was on mobile data. I just went on mobile data. Somehow the house, maybe the router was moved. The router's in the house, it comes down here, and it has to be on the windowsill. Maybe my wife moved it from the windowsill. So we were saying that if I lack sufficient intelligence, but I'm sincere and I'm serving Krishna with love, which means as much devotion as I can muster up within my heart. And that means I'm trying to serve Krishna to please Him. And I may not be very advanced, but that's what I'm trying to do. Then Krishna will give intelligence how to do that. And I may lack the intelligence. So Prabhupada's saying, you may lack the intelligence, but if you're sincere, then Krishna's going to help you. So the point is that if we want to be Krishna conscious, Krishna will help us, even if we're not that intelligent. That's the point. And that will come up further in the discussion. The qualification is that a person is always engage himself in Krishna consciousness, and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. So that's the qualification to get intelligence. That you show Krishna you want the intelligence by making the effort to advance. You should perform some sort of work, and that work should be done with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress. You know, when we first come to Krishna consciousness, we definitely don't know that much. But how is it that Krishna guides us in the first place to the devotees and then inspires us to continue in devotional service? Because of that, at that early stage of Krishna consciousness, obviously we don't have a lot of spiritual intelligence. And I think this is a very good example of this principle, that all of us who become Krishna conscious, we were even getting intelligence from Krishna before we met the devotees. We were understanding the problems in material existence. A lot of us were praying to God. So Krishna was giving us intelligence even in that stage, because there was some desire. Many devotees tell stories that they were praying to God, they were frustrated, they wanted to know why they were alive, they didn't really see a purpose to life, and very soon after Krishna came, either in the form of a devotee, or the form of a book, or a festival, or some way they came in touch with Krishna consciousness, or through a friend, some answer was given. So, what I lack is not a problem, as long as I'm sincere. The only problem would be that I'm not sincere. And then Krishna will give intelligence according to the need of an insincere person. And we'll discuss this, and I looked at some lectures that Prabhupada gave, and it's very clear how Krishna gives intelligence or how he doesn't, and it will come up from reading these. Now, there's a verse. It's in the 9th chapter, 29th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Samaham sarvabhuteshu, name dveshosti na priya. Krishna says, I'm equal to all. Samaham, sama means equal, and aham means I. Samaham sarvabhuteshu, to everyone, sarva, all, bhuteshu. In all living beings I am equal. Sama. Name dvesha sti na priya. I don't hate anybody, nor is anyone especially dear to me. So this is a general statement. Just like you can say that. I don't hate anybody. I am equal to everyone. I don't have a special affection for people in general, for a certain ethnic group, or hate another ethnic group. That's a spiritual vision. So Krishna is saying that. But samaham sarvabhuteshu name dveshosti nabe. But yetu bhakti. Yetu mam. What is it? Yetu mam bhaktya. Maiteteshu chapya. I'm missing one word. But whoever renders some service to me, then I'm in him, I'm a friend, he's a friend to me. So, obviously, Krishna, as the source of feelings of love, has a special affection for those who render service to him, just as we would. When I say, well, I like all people, but I like my son or daughter or my best friend or my husband or wife more, because there's reciprocation, there's feelings based on their feelings towards me, I have feelings towards them. So Prabhupada's referring to this verse, that my devotees are in me and I am in them, that their position is special amongst all living entities because they serve me. So I know it's maybe hard to accept for some of us that Krishna has some special feeling for us, but because we're rendering service, he does have some special, at least you could say, concern for our spiritual life, because we want to make advancements. So now Krishna is concerned because we're concerned. So Prabhupada is referring to this verse, and I'll read the lecture. So this is the description, so this is the reciprocation of dealings of devotional service with the Lord. In other words, he's explaining that verse. Krishna's equal, but if you serve him, there's a special place for you. And if there is any devotee who is constantly engaged in such reciprocation of devotional service, God will never forget him. Isn't that nice? Teshu te mai, Krishna will never forget you. And it's obvious that we think that Krishna may not care about us. Not only does he care about us, Prabhupada's saying here, if you render service to Krishna, he won't forget you. And we should feel that way. I'm posting something today on Facebook that says that it's not a question of whether Krishna loves us or not, because some people question that. It's a question if you feel that love and reciprocate with it. So that's the real question. Do you feel it, or do you feel it, or do you reciprocate with it? Not whether or not he loves you. So Prabhupada's making that point here. Krishna's reciprocal. He's a person. He has the most affection, and so if you would reciprocate with someone who's serving you, then why wouldn't Krishna? Even if it's you, and even if it's not great service. But Krishna really appreciates it when you share Krishna consciousness with others, and he definitely reciprocates. So, let's continue reading. Quote, as he is always unto me, similarly I am also unto him. In other words, as the devotee is thinking of Krishna, serving him, praying to him, Krishna is that way. So Krishna is just, whatever mood you have in devotional service, Krishna will have that mood towards you. Isn't that nice? That is really nice. Whatever mood you have, whatever feelings you have towards Krishna, he will have those feelings towards you. He won't say, yeah, I know you feel this way about me, but I don't feel that way about you. That will happen here in this world, but it won't happen with Krishna. So whatever sincerity we have, whatever bhakti we can muster up, Krishna will reciprocate with that. Actually, he'll give more. Since there's no question of disappointment. In other words, Prabhupada's saying, as you are to me, I will be to you, so don't be disappointed, don't question it, don't doubt it. Never be disappointed that Krishna is forsaking you. As long as you want him and you serve with the best of your ability and sincerity, then, what does Prabhupada say? As he is always unto me, I am also unto him. Isn't that nice? It would be a good line for a song. As he is always unto me, I am always unto him. Beautiful. Yes? So there's no question of disappointment. Swalpam api asyadharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That means your bhakti is never lost. If you do a little thing for the service of the Lord, it is noted in the notebook of Krishna. Yeah. Krishna had a computer long before there were computers here. Everything's noted on his hard drive. Don't think that your labor is going in vain. Everything, whatever you do sincerely, that is noted. This is a lecture from 1966, early in the movement. He's encouraging everyone. Don't think your labor is going in vain. Everything, whatever you do sincerely, that is noted. It is clearly stated here. Teshu te mai. As they are always constantly thinking of me, similarly, I am also constantly thinking of them. how he can make further development, how the devotee can make further development, how he can come to me quickly, how he can be free from contamination. He will give you intelligence. So, then you might say, well, why doesn't Krishna just one shot just remove all doubts? He's giving intelligence and guidance according to what will be best for our spiritual advancement, and giving us one dose of Krishna consciousness and to wiping out all Maya is not going to work. And we've talked about this before, but for the sake of this discussion, just understand, it has to be gradual. It's not going to work if Krishna just does it all for you. So Krishna will give you intelligence, will reveal the next step, will reveal your anarthas, will give you inspiration according to where you're at and what you need at that point, because you need to take the next step, not the next 100 steps. So he'll give you the intelligence for what is the next step, a step that you can take. If he shows you how to take the 100th step, you can't take it because you're down on the first step. So he can show you how to take the second step. He will give you intelligence, that is stated in another place. You will find in the 10th chapter, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajitam priti purvakam. That's 10:10 Bhagavad Gita. We quoted that verse. Those persons who are always engaged in love and devotion in my service, buddhi yogam dadami tam, I give them intelligence. Because intelligence is required. A fool cannot make progress in Krishna consciousness. Only the intelligent person, and that intelligence is supplied by God. He supplies. Tadami buddhi yogam tam, I give him intelligence. One kind of intelligence? Yena mam upayanti te, by which he can quickly come to me. So, as you know, yoga means to link with Krishna. So buddhi means intelligence. Sometimes it's translated as enlightenment. We can also translate it in this context as guidance, internal guidance. And so buddhi yoga means intelligence in yoga. Yoga, of course, means to connect with Krishna. And then later in that verse, Krishna says, Yena mam upayantita, intelligence by which they can come to me. So it actually has broad meanings. Because on a higher level, the intelligence, how to come to me, would mean how to enter the rasa dance. Krishna gives intelligence to the gopis, how to sneak out of their house and enter the rasa dance. And of course, most of us are not worried right now about how to enter the rasa dance. We're just worried about how to get up and chant our rounds. So, the coming to me, the buddhi yogam will mean different things to different devotees, and according also to their situations and desires. So, in the practice of sadhana bhakti, then it's going to mean giving intelligence how to gradually make the right moves, how to move towards Krishna and move away from Maya, because that's the kind of intelligence we need, right? This discriminatory intelligence is what we require. So we know what is Maya, we know what is Krishna, we move away from Maya, we move towards Krishna. We need that intelligence, right? So, but it also has another meaning, intelligence, how to do service. And when reports were given to Prabhupada of various projects that were being developed by his very young devotees, he would often say, I can see Krishna's giving you intelligence. Sometimes, when they had plans, they would reveal those plans to Prabhupada before they'd done them, and he would say, yes, go, do it. Krishna will help you. Krishna will help you. That means Krishna will give you intelligence. And he'll also give you whatever else you need, the strength, the wisdom, the determination. So buddhi yogam can mean all of those things, but the basic, I see it as a basic category that Krishna gives what you lack, and that's there in the 9th chapter. I'll preserve what you have and give what you lack. So we may lack so many things, not just intelligence, but determination, various forms of insight into subtleties of what is right and wrong, proper understanding of how to do service and so forth. Now, someone has just written me and asked me, can Krishna give intelligence for me to do something that I'm not good at? And the answer is yes and no, because it will depend on you, and it will depend on what it is you're trying to do. Krishna definitely will give intelligence, and our whole movement was really based on this. But send somebody out who's sincere and open a temple. Even though materially he's not well trained. And Prabhupada said all it takes is one sincere man for a temple to be successful. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be good at all aspects of temple management, because everyone has a nature, everyone has certain abilities and a certain kind of intelligence. So if we are not careful, we may think that this verse means Krishna will give me intelligence to be able to do or understand things which are quite against my nature. So, let's say some very tough guy is harassing the devotees. And Prabhupada said we should protect the devotees, but let's say you're someone my size and has no experience fighting other than wrestling when you were 10 years old with the kids on your street who were 20 pounds lighter than you. And so you think, okay, well, I need to protect these devotees. Krishna will give me intelligence how to fight. So you go up to this big guy who towers over you and weighs twice as much as you, and you try to punch him. And that's, you could say, but Prabhu, wouldn't something special happen? We can't deny that something special would happen. But it's not like in that moment you're going to be a world heavyweight boxing champion just because you need it. So, of course, it's an extreme example, but what we have seen in our own lives is that we all have nature. So if you try to engage outside your nature, even Krishna may give you some intelligence. Often, if it's really against your nature, you will fail or you will not do well. So we also want to understand that. We don't want to take this, Krishna's giving me intelligence and empowering me, in a way which is quote-unquote not intelligent. It can also mean that Krishna will provide people who spray chili water in their eyes, level the playing field. Okay, Harinam party, take chili water with you and a squirt gun, just in case. Yeah, not a bad idea. Better than dying, I guess. Better than going to the hospital. So we see sometimes a person lacks ability, but they're sincere. He lacks ability, he's sincere. Krishna sends somebody with the... Krishna sends some... Sometimes this happens on Harinam. People harass us and somebody protects us, not a devotee. So sometimes that happens. So sometimes providing intelligence could be that Krishna provides another person with intelligence we don't have to help us. And certainly so many people help Prabhupada do things which Prabhupada had never done before. You might have seen that video, and Prabhupada was doing a bhajan, and then they asked him, they said, the mridanga could be played during the recording, or you could just record the harmonium and kartals, and then you could play the mridanga over, which we call overdubbing, multi-track recording. And Prabhupada said, he just laughed and said, you know better than I don't know these things. This was new for Prabhupada. So sometimes we acquiesce to someone who knows more than we do because we want to do it properly. So in terms of intelligence to go back to Godhead, that will always be provided. In terms of intelligence to render service, we should be careful that we don't try to render a service for which we have very little capability. Of course, sometimes we're asked, so we have no choice. But we should just be a little careful and not have artificial faith that Krishna will enable me to do something which I have absolutely no natural skill for. I'm not saying that's impossible, but when it's not happening, we could do more harm than good in trying to execute service if it's a big responsible position or there are many people under us who need a capable person above them. So Definitely Krishna will guide us, definitely he'll give us intelligence, definitely he'll inspire us. Now, that someone may say, but yeah, I've seen sometimes Krishna inspire people to do things which were not intelligent. Perhaps what we're seeing is that the person was inspired by their own desire, their own mind, or their own misconception. And they weren't able to listen to Krishna, because Krishna has to get through. So to get through, we have to listen. And sometimes we become stubborn, and we just want to do something a certain way, and we believe that Krishna is inspiring that. But again, if wow, frogs are happy today. Frogs in my office? I don't know. Stuck in the air conditioning? Maybe. Maybe the frog liked that statement. But sometimes what's happening is that we're getting inspired not by Krishna, and we don't recognize that. We're getting inspired by maybe our own attachment to do something in a specific way. That's possible. So, it's just because we're inspired doesn't mean it's coming from Krishna. I mean, indirectly, it may be. Everything comes from Krishna indirectly. And Prabhupada's going to talk about this. But when we're talking about yoga, that means an inspiration that helps us. And we can say, yeah, everything is inspired by Krishna, but the yoga which inspires us, the yoga means in devotional service, or something which is useful. So there's a really nice purport. I think I've discussed this before. Is maybe a little bit of a sensitive topic, but I think an important one. That sometimes a devotee will do something which is obviously offensive. Everybody can see it's offensive. Blasphemous or critical of other devotees. But still, it looks like they're good devotees and they're chanting. And this is explained by Mahaprabhu and explained by the acharyas and commentaries that it's not bhakti, it's not devotion. It's like an external, it's like a shadow of it. It's not the real thing. So because they're doing devotional service, maybe they're chanting all day, they will think that, well, I'm not offensive. If I were, Krishna would kick me out. And what Krishna has actually kicked out is their devotion. He hasn't kicked out the external service, but he's kicked out the devotion. Isn't that interesting? So we could be very inspired in Krishna consciousness and doing the wrong thing, and that inspiration is not really coming from Krishna. It can come from the modes of nature. So we want to be a little careful about that. Not everything that's inspiration is Krishna conscious. And so there has to be some accountability to the philosophy and some accountability to behaviors that Prabhupada expected of us. So I just wanted to clarify that. Otherwise, we would think everything we think is an inspiration from Krishna because I'm a devotee and therefore Krishna's inspiring me. But it's not always true because obviously we make mistakes. But if we're honest and sincere, if we do make a mistake, Krishna will correct it. And generally we could say, if we're honest and sincere, Krishna will get us back to Godhead. The direct path or the indirect path where we slip and fall, but he'll get us back to Godhead. Okay. Here's a lecture from 1967. I'll answer your questions in a little bit. I wanted to read a few more of these lectures because they expand upon this. March 16th, 1967. I believe this is in San Francisco. This is Prabhupada leaving New York, and he went to San Francisco. This is the second temple. So Prabhupada's preaching at the second temple in ISKCON. This is still pretty early in the movement. This is like a year and a half. Prabhupada's been in America a year and a half. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yeyatamam prapachante tamstadaive bhajamyaham. Anyone who worships me in a particular way, I give him a chance to be successful in that particular way. If you want to be a first-class eighth... So Prabhupada here is referring... not necessarily a devotee, but anyone who asks Krishna for some favor, Krishna will guide them. So Prabhupada explains, if you want to be a first-class atheist, Krishna will give you a chance to become a first-class atheist. He will give you intelligence. This guy, Richard Dawkins, is that this other guy. I saw a debate between a Catholic priest and this other guy. It wasn't Richard Dawkins, it was someone else. Another avowed atheist. Very intelligent people, materially intelligent. And Krishna's giving them intelligence to be first-class atheists. So they have arguments which they believe are quite strong and convincing. And those arguments are obviously coming from Krishna. So it's so funny that the person you deny exists is giving you the arguments to deny that he exists, for you to deny that he exists. That's the supreme. I mean, Krishna's like, he's pretty funny, isn't he? So, you don't want to believe in me, from within you, I will give you all the arguments to not believe in me. So the one you don't believe in is the one giving you the arguments not to believe in him. That is like, that's Krishna. The cheater, the greatest cheater. That's him. He cheats better than anyone. He will give you ways and means how you can become a first-class atheist. And if you want to become a first-class devotee, Krishna will give you intelligence how you can become a first-class devotee. Therefore, he says, Ye yata mam prabhajante. If you think that Krishna here, he's referring to the deity, quote, if you think the deity, quote, here is the statue of Krishna, he is an idol, and these foolish people are chanting Hare Krishna with an idol. So Krishna will remain to such a person an idol forever. And one who knows, oh, these people are chanting Hare Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him, Krishna will reveal, yes, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, of course, this is all about faith, and people who are inclined to empiricism and want to see everything, they don't appreciate faith. They think faith is a cop-out. But you know the story of Krishna leaving this world, and some devotees, especially younger devotees, say, well, why? What happened? There's a Krishna left a body, and he was shot in the foot, and he left the body. It was accidentally, a hunter thought it was a deer. So Krishna left the body and said, why did Krishna do that? And Krishna is very interesting. Krishna's doing exactly what Prabhupada says he does. People thought Krishna was an ordinary person. They didn't accept him as God. And so Krishna thought, well, if you think that I'm not God and I'm an ordinary person, well, let me leave a material body just so you can believe that. And you think, why would Krishna do that? Ye yatamam prapadyante. Isn't that interesting? You want to think Krishna's material, he'll give you evidence for you to believe it. And now you can go home saying, I told you so. I told you he has a material body. You said he's spiritual, and here's his material body. So you're all wrong, and I'm right. Krishna facilitates a person's ignorance, if that's what they want. Isn't that amazing? So, some people come to the temple, especially those of the Christian faith, believe that we're worshipping idols, although if you go into Catholic Church, it's full of idols. I mean, in the true sense, well, maybe not really. I mean, if you're defining a deity as an idol, then the Catholic Church is full of idols. They have altars of their saints, for Jesus, Mary, and so on. Anyway, that's another topic. But if you want to think that Krishna is not in the deity, you'll never understand that Krishna is in the deity. Krishna will never reveal that. And if you have faith that Krishna is in the deity, he will reveal it. You know, when Prabhupada installed the first deities, it was very. And as you know, Jagannath, it's not like you're installing a deity that looks like a human being. You're installing a deity that looks like some kind of mystical, religious totem pole figure, American Indians or something Aboriginal would worship. It's quite a unique form. Of course, we love Lord Jagannatha. We understand why he has that form. But that wasn't understood in the beginning of the movement. And Prabhupada had Shyamsundar carve deities of Jagannath, and he faithfully did that. And the devotees faithfully began to worship on the order of Prabhupada that this is Shyamsundar Krishna. They had that faith. And because they had that faith, then Jagannath would reveal themselves to them. And they would see Krishna in Jagannath. Otherwise, they could not possibly see that. So even at an early stage of devotion, they could see it. So that's just the way Krishna works. Whatever level of faith you have, he reciprocates with that. And it's really interesting to just meditate on that. You could actually meditate on that your whole life. Whatever level of faith you have, Krishna verifies that faith. Well, I don't believe I can do this. Okay, let me verify that for you. I believe I could do this. Okay, let me verify that for you. Isn't that interesting? Just meditate on that. Just meditate on that. Sound distractions? I don't know what's going on here. Hare Krishna. It should be fine. Is that any better? Maybe my recorder's dying, I don't know. Maybe it's possible. Distortion when I move. Oh, you know why? Because this is in my chatter. And I'm moving around. I'm so excited. Move my chatter down. It's supposed to be summer here, but we got winter. Winter comes. At this time of year, this is my daughter's birthday was yesterday. We've had birthday parties where it was sweating hot and birthday parties where it's freezing cold. So this is like the last week in Florida where it can be cold, and it's cold. And then it's going to warm up and be really hot. And I think I might, right outside my office I have a table. I might sit outside, do some classes outside. It'll be fun for you to watch. More pleasing. Okay, so that's better? Yeah, that should be better. We're moving. Okay. So, so that the idea that Krishna reciprocates with faith is a very powerful idea. Because, let's say I lack some faith. Oh, I can't do this, or Krishna won't take care of me, whatever it is. Then Krishna reciprocates with that lack of faith. Then you can see, this proves whatever it is you lack faith in. I can't do this. And then Krishna says, okay, you can't do it. I'll make sure you can't do it. And then you can't do it. And then you say, you see, I told you I can't do it. So you have to be a little careful. So if Krishna is reciprocating equally with our faith, our belief, that's very heavy, because that incorporates everything in our life. Everything in our life, not just spiritual, but everything. So, now, is that better? Am I better? Because if it was making noise when I was moving, I'm assuming it's my body, but you have to tell me. Distortion when I move, yeah, so it should be okay. Distortion is still there? The cable itself is broken inside. It's possible. Okay. What about this? You hear distortion? Used to feel it now? Just still the same, even worse. Huh. All right. Let's do another experiment. I am going to pull out my mic, and we're going to go on the mic on the recorder. Now we have the mic on the recorder. How does that sound? If that sounds the same, then, okay, Hare Krishna seems worse. Hare Krishna, hard to hear. Krishna, Krishna. All right, I have another. Okay, wait a minute. So what I'm going to do, I think it's the cable that's going. I think it's the cable that's going from the recorder to the phone. So, hold on a second. I'm going to pull out the cable. We're going to go straight. Now, if we still have a problem now, it's a bad connection. It's an internet. It's internet static. That is the only explanation. Which, yeah. Because sometimes, I'm just going straight to the phone, so there's no cables at all. So if you still have static, or there's any noise, that's because it's a bad internet connection. And when there's a bad internet connection, well, now it's good. Okay, so this is the culprit. Or this is the culprit. I'm glad this is not the culprit, because this cost a few $100s to replace. This will only cost $5 to replace. So it must be this, or possibly the connection in the phone, but in this. We almost lost this in South Africa. I wasn't upset. The boys were wondering why I'm upset. I said, well, I need an excuse to get a new one because they make a better model. So, but maybe this output is not working. And then if it's not working, I have an excuse to get another model. The new model it's higher quality. So, very clear. All right. So, yeah, now you think about what I said is very powerful. I don't think this can happen. I don't think that can happen. And Krishna says, okay, let's not make it happen because that's where your faith is. And I'm just reciprocating with your faith. So that's just how it is. I'm going to reciprocate with your faith and you don't believe this. Go up a little bit. All right. Hold on, everyone. You're going to get a real close-up of Mahatma Das. Whoops. Okay, now you can hear it even better, right? Because I'm closer. So I normally use a mic and I can stay away. So I have to get another... anyway, we have to experiment with this. So, yeah, very clear now. Yeah, because I'm so close. Hare Krishna. So, think about this, that where your faith goes, Krishna's reciprocating with your faith, and then he just mirrors back what you believe. Whatever it is, holy name, the deity, anything, your ability to do something, yeah, it's pretty scary actually. I don't think I can really do this. Okay, I'll make sure you fail because you are convinced you can't do it. I'll never be successful at this. Okay, let me make sure you are never successful. I just want to reciprocate with you. I mean, it sounds funny, right? It's true. It's pretty actually scary. But if you flip it around, then it's quite good, right? Isn't it? Flip it around, yeah, I can do this. We can succeed. This can happen. So that's something to meditate on because it's extremely powerful concept. If you saw the class on Friday night, I was telling the devotees that when you pray, you should pray with expectation. Because it's showing, yes, I have faith in you, Krishna, that if this is the right thing, you will give it to me. And praying with faith is necessary, and then Krishna will reciprocate. And sometimes we pray with fear. Oh, I need this. I'm afraid I won't get it. We're praying. And so we're sending out fear, and Krishna will reciprocate. Generally, Krishna reciprocates with fear. Doesn't he? So I'm going to go to your comments now. Okay? So how do we get to your comments? You guys were having some discussion while I was talking. And all kinds of comments. Wow. Krishna Karshani said, you said Krishna reciprocates all the feeling we have towards him. Regards only good positive feelings or also bad ones. Many jivas hate God and are against him. Does it mean that God has the same feelings towards those jivas? Well, you see in Krishna's Leela, so many people hate him. Srila blasphemed him 108 times, I think. He reciprocates by avoiding them. And he reciprocates by letting them hate him. That's how he reciprocates. If they want to hate him, he doesn't interfere. Let them hate him. And sometimes he reciprocates by chopping their head off also. Because sometimes it goes too far and they're harming other people and they need to be stopped. So that's a kind of reciprocation also. But, if God neglects you, that's worse than being hated. At least if he hates you, he's thinking about you. If he neglects you, that's horrible. Sometimes Narada Muni would say, well, Krishna was always thinking of Kamsa. Kamsa was always thinking of Krishna. There was hatred there. It was better than not thinking. So at least Krishna's thinking of me. Not that we should do something to get Krishna to hate us. But I think that's worse than hatred, it's neglect. Yeah, and Krishna doesn't hate in the sense that Krishna doesn't hate anyone, but when someone offends his devotees, then Krishna takes action. Definitely. I heard in a class this morning that we must read Bhagavatam daily to get intelligence. Would devotees who don't read but are still sincere still get as much or even more intelligence than devotees who read? I wouldn't, the point is, they go together. So you read, you get intelligence, and you get intelligence to understand what you're reading. Of course, Prabhupada said, if you're chant Hare Krishna, if you don't like books, he would say that to the public. But, reading Bhagavatam, it awakens your bhakti, and therefore you have more bhakti, Krishna will give you more intelligence. But if one is sincere, for some reason they're not inclined to read, or they have so much service, or whatever it is, of course we can't say Krishna would not guide them. But we would say as a general principle, you get intelligence from reading, for sure. Get so much intelligence from reading, but I wouldn't use it as an excuse to say, well, if I don't read and I'm sincere, I'll get all intelligence, because that was not Prabhupada's intention. That, you could say on a higher level, on a higher level, you'll see all the pastimes, so you don't have to read them. And you can talk to Krishna, so he can tell you whatever he wants to tell you. But certainly for us, we require intelligence. And so the Guru is the external manifestation of Supersoul, and intelligence is the internal manifestation. So we need them both, actually. But as I said, in some rare case, if someone couldn't read for whatever reason and was very sincere, we couldn't say Krishna would not give them intelligence. But at the same time, we could generally say, why take a chance? You get intelligence from Prabhupada's books. So, that's the best I can say. Rasa Prada says how the Creator can have hatred. Yeah. Well, sometimes Krishna appears to hate because he likes to fight. And but his hatred Krishna's hatred is out of love. Like he was going to kill Madhai because Madhai had harmed Nityananda, so he was going to kill him. So he was angry. Yeah. But I don't know if you want to call it hatred per se. But sometimes Prabhupada says that, a verse in the Gita, the demoniac are put into lower species and they never attain Krishna. Never means a long time. Because they commit so many sinful activities, they're so demoniac that they don't want Krishna. So they just kind of seep in the toxic liquid of their own sinful activity. So not really Krishna causing that, but Krishna stating a fact that they remain in a hellish condition by their own doing perpetually. Okay, so we went through a distorted period, and that's when I was saying the best thing. So it could be the cable, and we will see. The frog has chewed the mic. Okay, everyone. Is the mic prasadam? That's the question. If it is, the frog is liberated. Okay, worse, hard to hear. And now, it's funny, because I know about audio, so when I record these classes, I don't record on the mic on the phone. I have a better mic. And now we're getting static. It's like Krishna's laughing at me. Yeah, you think you're going to make it sound good? It sounds worse. Okay, so we got it clear, and then there's another question. Faith is amazing. Krishna loves to surprise us. The opposite works too. Krishna reciprocates with both fear and faith. Yeah, I think you see that all the time. That's why sometimes when you pray, a lot of the prayer is out of fear rather than expectation that Krishna will take care of you. And so Krishna may reciprocate with the fear. And that we don't understand. Krishna reciprocates with the fear, and that we don't understand why he's not answering our prayer. Well, you could say he is. It's important to have positive mind all the time, wonderful thoughts. It says if you use your mind to create what you are doing in your life now, mostly disasters, you have this photo, yeah. If your life's full of disasters, you may be there's karma also, but we're talking here about what we can control, and yeah. Faith is an interesting phenomenon. Sometimes devotees who are very learned in Shastra may become puffed up and see themselves better, so intelligence can be sometimes dangerous. Well, that's material intelligence, but that's not what Krishna's talking about. But it's true, if you're really smart. But not only intelligence. If you're good at anything, then it's easy to become proud. It's harder to become proud if you're not good at anything. Unless you're just around people who are really bad at everything, then you're not good at everything, but you're better than them, then you can become proud. And that's the nature of pride. And we'll always seek to find somebody worse. So it's true. If you want to become proud of whatever, you'll become proud of whatever, even if what you're proud of is not worth being proud of. But if we don't know what is good for us, and we pray to Krishna in a kind of confusion state, how will Krishna reciprocate? Well, I would say, why don't you know what's good? You mean, okay, let's say you don't know. Maybe there's two things and you're not sure, should I do this or should I do that? Then, in that sense, pray for intelligence to make the right decision. And sometimes Krishna will give you the intelligence to write somebody or speak to somebody who could help you. That can also come. So when we don't have intelligence, the Prabhupada said we pray to Krishna to give us intelligence, how to do the right thing, make the right decision. And that comes from humility, feeling that I need your help. So in a particular situation, when you don't really feel confident that you know what to do, you pray. Please give me guidance at this point, what to do. How to recognize that our inspiration is coming from Krishna, not from the modes of nature. It helps you become Krishna conscious. It helps others. It's supported in Shastra. It inspires devotees. Makes you happy, makes other people happy. Not just because you think that your inspiration is Krishna conscious. It's, also your inspiration may be Krishna conscious, but like you said, you may use that inspiration to demean others, to glorify and honor your own intelligence. So you can get intelligence from Krishna, and then you can pollute that by becoming proud. It's not that just because Krishna gives you intelligence, it doesn't mean Maya won't give you intelligence the next second, right? So Krishna's inspiring me to take sannyas, and I'm 22 years old and I have a 1-year-old son. How's that? You think Krishna's inspiring that? Oh yeah, he is. I feel it, in my heart. This is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, but your wife has no way to maintain herself. Oh, Krishna will take care of her. You just have to have faith. So that kind of thing, where it's obviously not in line with what Prabhupada has instructed us. Then, it's inspiration, that's for sure, but it's not the right inspiration, is it? So, yeah. Interesting question, because you have to be intelligent to know if your inspiration is coming from Krishna or not. You have to be intelligent to know if your intelligence is coming from Krishna or not. And generally I would say that younger devotees should avail themselves of senior devotees. I mean, seniors. Like, you have this phenomenon, it's a universal phenomenon. A 25-year-old thinks he knows everything, and he doesn't ask the 60 or 70-year-old if what he thinks he knows is true, and he goes on some rampage declaring to the world that what I know is true. So that's not smart. We don't want to do that. Right? So, yeah, it's intelligent to see if your inspiration is always actually coming from Krishna, or is pleasing to Krishna, pleasing to the Vaishnavas. How to stay inspired. This will inspire you. I think I may have told you that when I was on the plane to Dubai, it was a 13-hour flight. And sometimes in those long flights, I'll watch a documentary. Because normally I don't watch those things. And so I try to find something that may be of use to my preaching. Anyway, I saw a documentary on Vietnam. And I saw actually so many parallels to what went on in Vietnam to ISKCON. It was really eye-opening from a social, psychological perspective. But one thing that was very inspiring was that America was on the side of the South Vietnamese, and the communists were on the side of the North Vietnamese. And America had a lot of air power. So at one point they decided that all the roads that would go from the main roads that the soldiers would take, and that all ammunition would be brought to fight in South Vietnam, the Americans would destroy. Those roads would come from North Vietnam, and the Americans would destroy them. So with air power and radar, they could see the roads, the bridges, and they would destroy bridges and roads. They would build these nice roads, clear the forest, and then the Americans would come and bomb them. So the North Vietnamese had a saying, "You bomb today, we rebuild tomorrow. You bomb the day after, we will rebuild the day after you bomb." So why could they think that way? Because they had a mission. Their mission was they wanted independence. They were a dependent country ruled by the French, and I think maybe the British at some point. They were ruled by foreigners, and they didn't want that rule. And so the desire to be free from foreign rule was so strong. They were willing to build the roads, and not only that, rebuild roads and bridges. And it showed them rebuilding the roads and bridges, singing that song, "You bomb today, we rebuild tomorrow." And women were working. They got everybody, women, children, everybody in North Vietnamese that could work was working on this. And they were living in austere conditions, doing very difficult work all day, all night. And when I saw that, I thought, yeah, this is inspiration. This is what inspiration means, that your cause, your purpose is so important. It's so... it is so deeply ingrained within you that you would do that and do it happily and be prepared to build it again no matter how many times they bombed your bridge and roads. That's amazing. Because for me, guiding many devotees, especially younger devotees, a lot of times I'll get letters that say, "I'm not inspired." How do I get inspired? And when I saw the inspiration of these people, it was just off the charts, incredible. And then I would think about the devotees who say, "How do you get inspired? I'm not inspired." And I just think it's sad that which is should be the most inspiring, to save the world and save yourself and go back to Godhead. And we're saying we're not inspired, and where people are more inspired just to save their country than we are to spread Krishna consciousness around the world. That's unfortunate. So, in answer to your question, how do we get inspired? You have to have something to be inspired about. So you have to be able to look at Krishna consciousness in a way, some aspect of it, some service within that, something about it that becomes an inspiration. Like in the Prabhupada movie, there's so many things in that movie that you could latch onto that could inspire you for the rest of your life. Or inspire you with a vision for the rest of your life. And, Prabhupada knew that if we weren't inspired to spread Krishna consciousness, we're just going to be inspired for ourselves, to find something for ourselves to do and amuse ourselves or gratify ourselves. So I was just thinking this morning about a book or an article called "The Power of Why," or "The Importance of Why," or "Asking Why." And so it's the why. Well, behind the goal is the why. Yes, a goal should be there, but behind the goal must be a why. I told this story before, and this, to me, this story is the story of Steve Jobs, but it's not from the Bhagavatam, but I think it illustrates this point so well. Steve Jobs was such a perfectionist, maybe like a maniac perfectionist, splitting hairs, and he drove people crazy. And it came to a point where the board of Apple fired him. And he started Apple, but when it went public, they had the right to fire him, which you could imagine, being fired from your own company. But did you know when he left, nobody said goodbye? They all were like happy he left. They really didn't like him. He drove people crazy. But of course, he made the company what it was. And after he left, the company almost went bankrupt. And the way it was saved is they called him back. And what he found is that the company had completely lost the why, the vision of why they were started. And he went back to that vision, and then he became successful. And so what he said was, when he left Apple, it became an electronics company, like any other computer company. You make computers, you make printers, you make screens, you make cables, whatever you need. And I think there were like 100 and somehow, I don't know how, 130 different products Apple was making, but they were Me Too products, just products that basically every other electronics or computer company was making. So he said that was never the purpose of Apple, to be a Me Too, just electronics company. The purpose of Apple was to change the world, or change the way things are done. And if you know the history of Apple, when they came out with the iPod, the iPod was that music player where you could digitally download music, which we all use now, even on our phones and so forth. But then it was a big thing, and the music industry didn't think anything of it. But within a couple of years, it completely changed the music industry and how you get music. So that was his vision. I'm not making a judgment that it was good or bad. I mean, it's good for us because we can carry everything Prabhupada said on our phone. So it's fantastic for us. So that was his vision, how to. Then he came with the iPhone, and the iPhone was a phone and an iPad and a computer all in one. And no one had done that before, carrying around a computer and a phone and an iPod. That was huge, and that, as you know, that really changed the world. I don't know if that changed. The iPod definitely was good, but the phone, smartphone, I don't know. Driving me crazy, actually, because I have so much communication. People can attack me at all hours of the day and night. It's 24/7 because I'm in touch with people all around the world. So I don't know if that was a great creation or not, but you understand what he was trying to do. So when he came back to Apple, he said, we're only going to work on a few things. And that was the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone, the iMac, and the MacBook. That's all they made. I mean, look at what they make. They only have 4 or 5 products, right? A few peripherals, just for the, hard drive or whatever. So I think that illustrates something really, really important, that when you lose sight of the mission, you lose inspiration. In the beginning of the film, I have to get the quote. I don't know if you realize this, but right in the beginning of the Prabhupada film, he says, the purpose of my movement is to create a revolution. I think he said a revolution in consciousness in order to defeat or to purify or in order to change materialistic civilization, something like that. And I think it passed everyone went right over everyone's head, but I have spent a little time studying culture and vision and mission and the power of why. And that statement at the beginning of that movie actually embodies the whole mission of ISKCON. It's like we think the mission of ISKCON is embodied in the 7 purposes. That's not a vision statement, that's a mission statement. The vision statement is the why. Those are practical things we're doing, that's called a mission statement. But the why was stated in the beginning of the movie, to create a revolution, to, basically pull down materialistic civilization. That's pretty inspiring, I'm going to get that quote and then I'll post it. But once you get that quote, if in all your service you realize, we're creating a revolution to, pull down the pillars of materialistic civilization, that's kind of inspiring. And so when you say you're not inspired, it's because you lost the why. Why does this going to exist? Why do you exist? Why do you get out of bed? Well, you have to have some reason to get out of bed. So, we all need a vision. Yeah. Vision as an individual and vision as a spreading Krishna consciousness. Yeah, both. Our vision should be equal. Our, vision should be equal to our guru. Well, your guru has a pretty broad vision. So you find your vision within that broad vision. I mean, Prabhupada's vision is pretty broad. Tear down materialistic civilization. So how do you want to tear it down? You know, I'll tear it down with drama. I'll tear it down with music. I'll tear it down with art. I'll tear it down with movies, TV, books, festivals, prasadam. I'll tear it down with something. So your inspiration is how you're going to tear it down. How you're going to tear down materialistic civilization, and then also your personal, you have a personal vision, how you want to develop your Krishna consciousness. And we all have a rasa, a specific rasa of Krishna, so that's also part of the personal vision. So within Prabhupada's movement, it's like, okay, if the goal is to create a revolution that would alter the course of materialistic civilization, that's pretty inspiring. When you have that attitude, then everything changes. But if you see Krishna consciousness as a chore and you don't understand why you're doing it, then it's frustrating and boring. It can be frustrating and boring, and you may lose your inspiration. And so many devotees lose inspiration because their why is not clear. Look at Prabhupada's why. Prabhupada was relentless. He never stopped right to the end. He revealed there's another why. In like a 1950 Back to Godhead, or 1950 letter, Prabhupada said something to the effect that my goal is to make every living being Krishna conscious, everyone on the planet Krishna conscious. That's a pretty inspiring goal. So, that's, how can you fulfill Prabhupada's mission? What can you do? What can your vision be to make that vision a reality, of making everyone on the planet Krishna conscious? That was Prabhupada's vision, So, somebody says, what's the purpose of your movement? To make everyone God conscious. To turn materialistic civilization on its head and create a spiritual civilization. That's what we're doing. Of course, obviously, there's details of that. That's a big goal. But the vision of your guru is to make everyone Krishna conscious, so how could you not support it? You're talking, should we support a particular program of your guru? That's between you and your guru. But obviously, your vision, your inspiration comes within the umbrella of making the world Krishna conscious. It's like Prabhupada gave us so many ways we could serve his vision. Some people distributed books, some people wrote books, some people painted for the books, some people laid out books, some people managed temples, some people managed a Sankirtan party, some people brought in people from the colleges, and Prabhupada said, bring in college students, they're intelligent, they can manage. Oh, wow, thank you, Lauren. I want to bring one revolution against materialistic civilization. That is my mission, so that the whole world may be happy. That's it. That's it. We all read the 7 purposes of ISKCON. That is a mission statement. This is a vision statement. So if someone says, what is the purpose of ISKCON? That's it. To bring a revolution against materialistic civilization, so that the whole world may be happy. That's it. That's why we do everything. That's the vision. And under that vision is your vision. How will you do it according to your ability and nature? And, if that's not inspiring vision, I don't know what is, So how will you create a revolution against materialistic civilization? What will you do? What's your part in that revolution? Will you drop the bombs? Will you make the bombs? Will you build the buildings where all the bomb droppers get inspired? What will you do? Will you give money so you can print bombs? Will you put on festivals where people will get bombed, not only with books, but kirtan and prasadam? Will you educate people and bring people in, and so that they will go out and bomb more people? That's basically what we're doing. So, you know, that's pretty inspiring. And I think when we lose sight of what Prabhupada came to do, then, yeah, we're not going to be inspired. I just saw the film, what's today? Yeah, I saw it like a week ago. It was last Monday I saw it. And, you know, every time I see it, I see something different. And this time, what I saw was inspiration. I saw, you know, it made me remember what it was like to be with Prabhupada. And I was just seeing how inspired the devotees were. It's just incredible inspiration. Where did that inspiration come from? It came from the vision that we're creating a revolution. We're going to, you know, it's like Shyama Sundar said, you know, you got to get the Beatles. You got to go to the top. Go for the jugular vein. If we want to make an impact, so he went for the Beatles. You know, that's how devotees were thinking. Prabhupada went to Moscow. Yeah, let's go. Let's go behind the Iron Curtain. Prabhupada was so inspired. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj distributing books behind the Iron Curtain. Whoa, Prabhupada was so inspired. And my godbrother Tulsidas went to South Africa, and the first Janmashtami, they had like 50,000 people. It's 1977. Prabhupada was so inspired. You know, that it's actually, we actually are creating a revolution. Materialistic civilization is falling apart. I travel a lot, so I get to see this. And in spite of all the problems in ISKCON, it's amazing to see what's happening. We are making a dent, slowly and surely, you know, and even in spite of ourselves. It's just like there's momentum. You know, we've distributed so many books. We've done so many festivals. We've distributed so much prasadam. There's so many devotees. And if in the heart of those devotees, there's an inspiration to share Krishna consciousness, you can't stop it, with or without the organization. I was thinking about that today. You know, there's so much concern about the future of ISKCON. How will it exist? How will it be maintained in the future? What do we have to give the next generation? But at the same, those are important concerns, but at the same time, if the seed of desire to give Krishna to others is implanted within the heart of devotees, that can't stop. It's like when they had the court case and they were charges of brainwashing. Prabhupada said, he said, it's too late now. The brainwashing books are already out there. So, you know, you could stop us from distributing books. You could close down our temples, but you can't close down the hearts of the devotees, and you can't close down the books. The books are out there. People will read them. So I see that going on. It's just like, it's got momentum now. And it's going to happen when the people who are going to do it are the ones who are most inspired. And the ones who are most inspired are the ones who want to help people the most. And, you know, one of the ways I get inspired, this has always inspired me, is just to become aware of how demoniac this civilization is. And Prabhupada describes it in Bhagavatam quite in detail. He reveals the anomalies, and he reveals the mentalities of misleaders and so on. But, you know, so that's more like generic, not specific as to any particular leader. But when you learn about what a leader does, how bad it is, it's just, I personally feel very sorry for people that they have to live in countries with such demoniac leaders. Do you know that in 1976, President Richard Nixon changed the law that there had to be gold to back up the paper money. There was actually gold backing up the paper money. Before 1976, they actually had enough gold, and he passed a law that it wasn't necessary. And the only thing that it is would be backed up by is the trust of the people. There was no gold to back it up. Is that demoniac? Prabhupada talks about that. Is that demoniac? Yeah. What to speak of other demoniac things. So we can get inspiration from looking at the world and seeing how innocent people are being misled and misguided. Another thing that inspires me is there was a time when I was traveling like 30,000 miles a year. And so sometimes on these long trips, I would listen to Christian radio. I wanted to see what they were saying. And also how they present radio shows, because it just interested me that maybe someday we would do a radio show. or I would help someone do a radio show. And some of what they said just, I mean, literally, I felt like shooting the radio. It was so horrible, the things they would say in the name of God. And it would make my blood boil. And sometimes I would dream and say, I'd like to meet this person on television and debate with them and set the record straight how demoniac some of the things they're saying are. So you could say in a certain sense, hearing how people are being misled by so-called leaders, it just was incredible form of inspiration for me. And how you get inspired, I can't say for sure, but find it, whatever it is. Find your inspiration and go with it, because we need it for ourselves and the world needs us. You know, if devotees aren't inspired, it's kind of like, what's the word? It's like an injustice to the world. That we have something that can save the world and we just sit on it and enjoy it ourselves. That's an injustice. Yeah, there's another word. Worse than injustice. What's a worse word than injustice? Something that's got more emotional content than injustice. A travesty, a crime. Yeah. So Krishna Karshani is saying, if you want to participate in a particular program of your guru, should you do that? That's between you and him. That's for you and him to decide about. I would say, if he's asking you to, if he really needs you, if you're the only one, yeah, probably. But if he's not, then there's so many ways you can serve, which are, anytime a devotee did something to spread Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada was happy. Even if it wasn't involved in direct book distribution, there were so many other programs to bring people to Krishna consciousness. So book distribution was his direct program. He was writing the books. He was ordered to do that. It's not that he wasn't inspired by other programs, because they're all, you could say, expansions of book distribution. From books came people. When people came, you need temples. Temples, you need deities. Yeah, let's bomb the world with Krishna consciousness. Yeah, because they're getting bombed by other stuff. And you want to get inspired, just go on YouTube and listen to all the bogus spiritual philosophy. That's very inspiring, because there's so many people don't know what they're talking about. It's just gibberish. It's completely ambiguous. And they think they're smart, and they're saying nothing. And they're convinced they're saying something. And, when you hear that, you just want to scream. Say, why are there 1 million hits for this guy? And he doesn't even say anything. And then you look at it, a video of a devotee and there's 67 hits. Or something, it's like, that's frustrating. Or 1,000 hits, but this guy's getting 1 million. That's frustrating. You want to do something. So these things can be very inspirational. Whatever inspires you, that's the point. But to not be inspired is a travesty. The world's going to hell, isn't it? Just sit home and be comfortable? No. Prabhupada never wanted us to sit home and be comfortable. It wasn't his mood at all. To be successful in spreading Krishna consciousness, we want to adopt Prabhupada's mood, and that was his mood. His mood was compassion. People are suffering, and it's not about me feeling comfortable. It's about me doing what I have to do. Sometimes for me, the most empowering times are when I'm least comfortable, when I'm doing the most austerity, when I give up my comfort, and I don't know what lies ahead, but I have service to do, and I do it, and it's not always... I don't always have control of my comfort. But those times, sometimes I feel the most empowered and the closest to Krishna. So, if we are all inspired, the world will be finished. Materialism will be finished. But materialism is so strong. It's got such a strong force. If we're not very inspired, it'll just, oh, Prabhu, people, nobody's interested. Why try? That's what we're singing that tune. What's the use? No, that was never Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada's mood was, you you reach them somehow or other. You reach them. You get to their heart. Whatever the problem is, you get there. You make it happen. Give them prasadam, whatever. Say the right thing. Get to their heart. But reach them. Make an impression on them. That's very important. So my advice is always that find what inspires you and go out and give people Krishna. If we're not inspired, then Maya's going to just take over. And there's a strong force. Obviously, the force of materialism is very strong. And ignorance is ubiquitous. It's and deeper than... it surprises me how... Oh, let me tell you a story. Oh, it's such a great story. My daughter is in a public speaking class, right? And she's really good at it. And because she's good at it, the teacher chose her for an all-school competition. So she's in her first year in university, and she's only 16, and she got chose. So that's pretty good, isn't it? And so there was an all-school competition, and then you compete, and then you go to the finals, right? So she went through the first competition. And she gave a talk on veganism. And so many people came up and said, your talk was the best talk. That was fantastic. She's a little bit of an actress, so she could act it. She's not just her talking like I'm talking now, but she acts. So many people said, that was by far the best talk. And she didn't make it into the finals. And my wife and her were talking. She said, because you talked about veganism, they didn't want it to go, which is a conservative area. It's a conservative college. And, you know, when you talk about not eating meat, some people, you know, because of Christian, you know, you know what I'm saying? So it's like materialism it creeps up everywhere. There was there are a lot of spiritual teachers. Sometimes I study them to see what they're saying and why they're popular and how they're spreading their movement. Just if there's anything that I'm missing, that maybe they found a way to reach people and we could use that, just like materially, how they're doing it. And practically all the time I hear references to something about evolution. The primitive, when we were primitive, when we were hunters and gatherers, the primitive brain. These are respected, quote unquote, spiritual teachers, and they're all talking about evolution. It's like this material philosophy is pervasive. And Druta Karma in his presentations has told me that people cannot, well, he didn't say it this way, but this is the fact, that he's presenting facts that people can't defeat. And a lot of times when you're holding to a certain view and you can't defeat it, you become really angry with the person who's just presenting the facts. He said sometimes people would actually leave because they couldn't defeat him. They got frustrated. So they're such diehard materialists. They hold on to evolution, a meeting, whatever it is, with their life. And when you expose it, they can't deal with it. They just go into a frenzy, become angry, go into denial. So materialism it's deeply ingrained within the psyche. And if we can expose it and defeat it, and Prabhupada would be so happy. Prabhupada wants us to be warriors, you know. I mean, we can be nice warriors, gentle sadhus, but still, sometimes Prabhupada said, I was reading yesterday, Prabhupada said something like, it was in regard to preaching, and he said something like, drop the poison. He was referring to preaching as poison, you know, you're poisoning the materialistic consciousness. So I forget the exact sense, but it was funny. Put in the poison. So, you know, our mission is to poison materialistic civilization so that they can't be materialists anymore. I'm asking this question because for a long time there was the idea that if a disciple should be directly involved in his preaching, if his guru, if not, he is in Maya. No, I wouldn't say that. Like some gurus are are into varnashram, and they want to establish self-sufficient farms. But you may be an academic, with a PhD in religious studies, and you have the potential to head up a religious studies department in a prestigious university, and that's your goal. And so your guru would generally say, do that. You shouldn't feel guilty. You have those talents, use them. That's where your inspiration lies. That's what you should do. If your inspiration lies in self-sufficiency, then yeah, you should serve him. That's perfect. Or vice versa, your inspiration is in self-sufficiency. You see the importance of setting an example. Your guru is totally into book distribution. Your guru will appreciate. He should appreciate. He will appreciate. But if for some reason he doesn't, yeah, then you talk to him about it. But generally, we have a big movement, and we can, of course, devotees like to work with and serve their gurus, so that's also natural. Maybe it's Maya if your guru is asking you directly, I need you to work on this, and you refuse. Yeah, like you're a scientist and you can defeat evolutionists, and he wants you to go on tour and do that, and you want to, grow vegetables or something. Yeah, you could say that's Maya in a sense, because you're getting a direct order, and it's a capability you have. Of course, most of us were never that close to Prabhupada that we would get such direct orders, because generally Prabhupada was happy that everyone was doing whatever they were doing as long as they were inspired. Of course, he pushed certain programs, but it wasn't that he didn't like you if you didn't do one program, unless he needed you personally to do it and asked you and said, don't do this, do that. Yeah, then you do it. Okay, is that all right? So tomorrow I'm giving class for the Australian devotees, and it's going to start at 6:15 a.m. And that's an hour and 15 minutes earlier than class today started. Today's class started at 7:30. And we're doing the weekend classes at 7:30 instead of 8:30 to facilitate devotees in Eastern Europe. And perhaps devotees in Australia who stay up late could also attend these classes. So I'm not sure what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I haven't got a feedback yet, but there's a topic I want to talk about. If we don't talk tomorrow, we'll talk next week. When I was traveling recently, this kept coming up. How to act on what you know. There's so many contexts it was coming up in the courses we were doing. So it's an important topic. I think it's worth talking about. And I think it relates quite well to the topic of Krishna giving intelligence. So we'll eventually talk about that. Okay, thank you for coming, and we will see you maybe tomorrow, if not, hopefully next Saturday. I'm going to be in Miami next week, and I have to take my wife to, she's studying a workshop on marriage, and it starts at 9, which means we're going to be driving at 7:30. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it in the car. That would be fun, huh? Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.